As a Pokemon fan, I can easily ask myself, where will Pokemon Legends Arceus rank for me in the coming years? Was it some weird experiment Game Freak tried? Was it the only time Game Freak actually tried? No matter how you slice it, Legends Arceus is one of the most fascinating Pokemon entries. It's considered main series, and yet it feels and plays like a total spin-off. It's difficult. It's oddly mature. It almost feels anti-Pokemon. The most fascinating part for me, though, is how Pokemon Company decided to split a Sinnoh remake between two concepts. One that is refreshingly new, and one that is mind-numbingly old. When Legends Arceus came out, we all collectively stopped bringing up Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl like it never even existed. A game that came out only 2 months before it. But was that because Pokemon Legends Arceus was so good, or was it because BDSP was so mediocre? Was this game truly the breath of the wild, breath of fresh air that the franchise needed? That's what I want to take a look at today. And be warned, there will be spoilers. Starting with the very premise, we find ourselves in a very weird Pokemon game. Our character, possibly from Diamond and Pearl but never confirmed, is ripped from the modern age and thrown back into the past. A past where people and Pokemon have not yet found their footing, but thankfully after a time where they were still getting married. I hope. This is massively insightful from the get-go. We have never seen the origins of the Pokemon universe like this. It answered questions we asked, such as where did the concept of a Pokeball even come from? Did they always look like this? And the idea that Pokemon migrate is very realistic. It doesn't surprise me that the ancient Sinnoh region has Pokemon from Unova, Kalos, and Alola, so you can imagine there is a ton to explore and uncover, and in a brilliant twist, that's the entire point of the game. You're a wayfarer of discovery. You and Professor Laventon, who I am convinced is the real time traveler with that fit, create the very first Pokedex together. Keep in mind that Legends Arceus doesn't even technically end until you catch every single Pokemon and complete their entries. If that was the status quo for main series Pokemon games, I'm sure most of us wouldn't even finish them. So with that concept in mind, it was a no-brainer for Game Freak to streamline the catching. You collect Pokemon in this game like candy, to the point where I actually started to feel bad for them. Just a normal little Bidoof? Sorry, you're going to the camp. Only 24 more to go! While you're catching and collecting, you're breaking down the barriers. You're showing everyone that Pokemon aren't dangerous, even though they totally are. And you're doing this by teaching how to coexist with Pokemon. It's incredibly rewarding seeing people having issues, gifting them a Pokemon or two, and seeing the town fill up with these various partnerships. Jubilife Village begins expanding. People become smarter alongside their Pokemon, and the music starts becoming more upbeat. Honestly, I think this soft narrative is even more impactful than the game's actual plot. When I try to think back on the plot, I'm drawing blanks. I think there was something to do with Arceus, maybe? The only part that will stick with me is Volo's role, but I'm not sure if that's because he was interesting or his fight was incredibly difficult. We'll get to him more later. Right now, I want to talk about what happens before you fight Volo. If I could only remember that mediocre plot. Ask and you shall receive. Who's that?
It is I, mortal, Arceus!
You're Arceus? Why do you have that dumb voice?
Fool! This is my canon voice from the 2009 hit film Arceus and the Jewel of Life.
Right, I kinda blocked out that voice from my memory, sorry.
Speaking of your memories, I shall bestow them upon you now! The plot of Pokemon Legends Arceus!
Boop. Oh, I remember now. The game starts with you joining the Scout Regiment and tracking down some Pokemans, but not before giving you your own Pokemon. I'm going to say right off the bat that this was something I always wanted Pokemon to do eventually. Instead of creating brand new starters, try scrambling the starters we already have. And really, I think Legends Arceus nailed these guys. Rowlet from Alola is a great pick. It is my favorite grass starter other than myself. Oshawott needed the love. I felt Unova did the line dirty, so seeing the little guy back is such a relief. And Cyndaquil! Thank goodness they brought back Cyndaquil. I've been saying for years how it feels like the Johto starters are so forgotten by Game Freak, even though they're arguably as nostalgic as Charmander, Bulbasaur, and Squirtle. I'm just saying, I saw a lot of Cyndaquil fans satisfied by the return, and I'm happy for them. Especially because all three starters get brand new forms upon evolution. May not be the most intense changes ever, but they're absolutely a start. Especially Typhlosion and Samurott, who needed gimmicks so badly. After After you pick your starter, you are thrown into this expansive world, meeting a colorful cast of characters that may or may not be ancestors to characters we already know. You got Professor Rowan, Cyrus, Clay, Cynthia, Cynthia 2, Mars, and so on. And I adore how these characters aren't exclusive to acting like their counterparts. Sure, they usually do act like them, but you have characters like Silene, who has that eerie design, yet is actually a very good person. Volo is another shocker, essentially turning Cynthia into something even scarier. Cynthia with malicious intent. But Ezu is also a highlight, taking a forgettable Team Galactic admin like Mars and making her best girl.
Isn't it so nice that I'm now best girl, Silene?
I literally am so busy filing paperwork that I couldn't care less. While the story itself doesn't reach the highs of the soft narrative like seeing the village and its people grow, I will say that the finale is awesome. Despite everything you have done for the Galaxy Expedition team, eventually they hated you. They see you as a threat since you're an anomaly that just fell out of the portal in the sky, and have become convinced that banishing you will save the region from destruction. Sounds quite similar to another plot. I wonder what it could be. Anyway, after traversing a mysterious dungeon, you do battle with Kamado himself, who is wearing full samurai armor, and the emotional climax begins. You catch Palkia and Dialga, and depending on the clan that you side with, the other legendary will shift into their new origin form, shatter Spear Pillar into what we know it in Diamond and Pearl, and you tag team with the other mascot legendary to combat them. I'm always a sucker for when this franchise does that. It's so great utilizing the rivalry of the two mascot legendaries in the final battle, or the final battle part 1 of 3. Yeah, there's much more to talk about, because after you beat the game, you're down a few plates. Lucky for you, Volo has the final plate you need. Unlucky for you, he's evil. After you endure his utter nightmare of a boss battle in which he uses a full competitive team and Giratina origin form, you still have more to do. You have to complete the entire Pokedex, which prompts Arceus to appear for one last showdown. And this is when the game reminds you that this game is the Arceus game. An entry that proves why Arceus deserves your respect as the god of all Pokemon. He can transform into every type there is by using a new plate called the Legend Plate that makes Judgment always super effective against the enemy Pokemon's type. Arceus now comes with a boss battle that is actually very difficult. In the battle, he uses Shadow Force, leading to one of the most chilling moments in Pokemon ever. Yes, Giratina's signature move Shadow Force is now canonically a move Arceus can learn, and most likely a reference to the Toys R Us promotion where you could get an Arceus that knows Shadow Force, Spatial Rend, and Roar of Time. This entire fight takes place in a location similar to that of the Sinjo ruins from Heart Gold and Soul Silver. The music itself is a straight-up creepypasta remix of the original Arceus theme. And you want to know my favorite part of all this, by the way? When you defeat Arceus and catch him, you're not actually catching him. He says, and I quote, "I bestow upon thee a part of myself." A part of himself. Basically, this confirms a long-running theory that Arceus is not really Arceus. When you see Arceus, he's projecting himself in a way you can comprehend. So that goat stuck in a fence design that people find so underwhelming? Yeah, that's not him. That's a projection of him. Come on, bro. It's like this was made by the most hardcore Pokemon fan there is. Like Birdkeeper Toby, or Patters, or Hoodlum Callum? In a way, it's kind of ruined the previous appearances of Arceus for me. Even though playing a flute and walking up a staircase to fight a level 80 Arceus was mind-blowing in the past, it's downright pedestrian compared to how Arceus was represented here. Telling a kid from 2006 that this was a future battle with Arceus would probably melt their brains. I'm sure people might find it disappointing you don't actually catch Arceus but only his projection, but I don't know. I find legendary Pokemon more special when you can't actually own them. It's like fighting Darth Vader is a video game boss. Sure, it's fun to demolish him, but it's way more fulfilling to the character watching him clean house like it's a horror movie. Scratch that one off the list. As you can see, this plot can get rather insane, even compared to other plot lines in Pokemon. While most of it can be fairly forgettable, especially when you start hunting for the spare legendaries like looking in your pockets for spare change, it brings it when it needs to bring it. Ultimately, while it didn't hit the narrative highs of Black and White or the endearment of Sun and Moon character-wise, the boss fights and lore drops will make Legends Arceus truly unforgettable for years to come. Speaking of unforgettable, let's take a look at some of these forms the game introduced. Unforgettable being the perfect word to describe them, since it doesn't have to be implying something positive. Okay, so I won't name names, but this game definitely has questionable design choices for the new Pokemon it introduces. There are even a few Pokemon that I look at and question why. For example, Sneasler. I do know that this sassy queen has captivated the hearts of many Pokemon trainers, but please, just hear me out here. Why on earth does this Pokemon exist? The original Diamond and Pearl games already introduced an evolution to Sneasel called Weavile. It was fine. Why did we need a new Sneasel evolution? Why did you need a brand new Pokemon evolution for the purpose of making Sneasel bigger? Sorry, but it's just weird to me that a Diamond and Pearl game didn't utilize a Diamond and Pearl evolution.
Well, Sneasel is a new type altogether, poison fighting.
But that's the thing! We already have a Diamond and Pearl poison fighting Pokemon that those very games introduced. Croagunk and Toxicroak. And don't tell me Toxicroak couldn't climb mountains with those Wolverine claws.
I think you're overthinking this by a wide margin, and I think we're gonna need another honorable nitpick section.
Okay, sorry, I won't nitpick anymore. In any case, I do realize that Pokemon designs are definitely subjective, and if you love a brand new form or an evolution introduced, I'm not gonna say anything mean about them. I will just say, however, other than Hisui and Voltorb being the best thing since sliced bread, is that certain Pokemon definitely benefited from this game's existence. Quillfish gets a long overdue evolution in the form of Overquill, which is probably the best Pokemon name ever if we're being honest with ourselves. And as weird as Origin Form Palkia and Dialga are, I can appreciate their existence. I always did find it weird how Giratina had a completely different form, but the other two were left in the dust. I even stated in my Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl video essay that I overall was disappointed with how they were handled in the remakes, because they offered no changes from any other Palkia or Dialga that you could get previously. No buff stats, no exclusive forms, no new forms. Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire gave you a reason to get invested in Groudon and Kyogre yet again, despite the fact that they had existed for years at that point. Palkia and Dialga feel special again, and thank Arceus for it. Literally.
So you're not gonna talk about your feelings on the Hisui and Pokemon forms?
I don't want to make people upset. There are forms that I really don't like, yet I personally know many people that do.
Just lightning round it. Go through the forms as fast as you can and people won't have time to get mad.
That's dumb. Let's do it. Yes, yes, sure, 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 yes, 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 no, 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 yes, 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 no, sure. I think that was far more generous than I expected.
Who knows? You might be the next devil's advocate.
I cannot allow that future to come to pass.
You're talking about modern Pokemon, it's inevitable.
The gameplay of this game is probably the most famous part of it. People really like what Game Freak has done here, and I'm in the same camp. Though I do have my own thoughts on it, which I'll get to later. But yeah, this is clearly the most dynamic Pokemon has ever been. The action is quick and satisfying. There's strategy, but it's not so clear-cut to get a victory. You can quite literally be steamrolled by an enemy Pokemon if they're fast enough. These opponents won't even give you a chance to go to your menu. It's not real time, but it sure as heck feels like it is. The biggest gimmick introduced in this game is the ability to change between strong style and agile style. I thought this would needlessly complicate the battling system too much, but for the gameplay loop they're going for, it's a brilliant idea. Essentially, you can use double the power points to make any move either fast but weaker, or strong but slower. So if you're in battles and you need just a little bit more power to finish off a Pokemon, you can use strong style. This leaves you open to being hit, but it doesn't matter if it's the last Pokemon or the last turn of the battle. On the flip side, Agile Style can be used for when you know a Pokemon can be KO'd in 2 turns. You can use an Agile Style move to bonk it, then finish it with a Strong Style, essentially pulling off 2 moves in rapid succession. The main gameplay loop of Legends Arceus is traversal and capturing after all, so you're not going to want to spend all your power points spamming these 2 styles. It doesn't sound that complex at first, but it quickly shows off how deep a mechanic it is. If you don't want to use it, that's also completely fine. More often than than not, using a regular version of the move is the best way to go anyway, even if it is in a battle. Again, using a regular move doesn't deplete as many power points, which you will need in your adventures, because the name of the game is capturing, and Legends Arceus is streamlined so that catching Pokemon is not only obtainable, but it's required. To even get to the ending, you need to capture every Pokemon in the game and fill out their entries. However, it's not nearly as taxing as you think. Whether you're hovering over the region or sailing through the ocean, you're likely to encounter something rare. Just make sure it's not one of those alpha Pokemon, because they're tough. And I mean tough. Speaking of alpha Pokemon, they're really cool. They're like gigantic versions of Pokemon. While they are cursed more often than not, they can really fulfill some childhood fantasies. Seriously, owning a Steelix that actually was to scale was ridiculously fulfilling, and I don't think Pokemon will be the same if I can't feel that sense of scale again. Although, gameplay-wise, I did say that I had my own thoughts. Okay, so this style of open world and capturing is great fun, but the battling is too different for me. Don't get me wrong, I want to see this style again, absolutely, but let's keep it as a side series thing. While it doesn't look like it on the surface, Pokemon is an oddly complex turn-based RPG that has quite a competitive following. The battle system here is not simple by any means, but it can be kinda dumbed down in comparison. Heck, the game doesn't even have abilities. Legends Arceus doesn't have multiplayer at all, and I think it's because traditional turn-based Pokemon gameplay still has its place. And I want to see this style of battling stay exclusive to the Legends series in the future. I don't want to see it in the main series in any fashion, but I also like the traditional fixed camera routes instead of open world, so what do I know? Looks like Scarlet and Violet are going this direction, so hopefully it's good. I can at least admit that this battle system is refreshing. It really is. In the same way Mystery Dungeon is a refreshing change of pace from the main series. Retweet to scare an IGN employee. Anyway, I think now is as good a time as any to get to some cons I have with the game. You ready? Sounds like you guys are ready. I'll start with an easy one. I don't think the characters are that amazing. Sure, they're good, but they're just good. It's really shocking because I sing the praises of Game Freak to no end and how they're able to up the ante with their characters. Sun and Moon had a great ensemble of characters to know and love, and Sword and Shield just escalated it even higher. Seriously, I don't think there's a single character in Sword and Shield that I didn't adore. But here, meh. At least they're not bad, they're just not really that good. Oh yeah, and then there's this guy. Melly sucks, holy crap. You're just going throughout your adventure, saving noble Pokemon, not a care in the world, and then this guy's like...
Now, I may just be a well-educated chap from clearly a better class, but I'm pretty sure that if they stuck with you, they would be one leg short of a full set.
What did you just say? Well, at least Ingo is here, which that shocked me. I never thought Game Freak even cared about the subway bosses from Unova. They felt like such afterthoughts. I kind of feel like a writer was browsing through previous designs, saw this guy looked awesome, and threw him into the game. Seriously, I find it quite humorous that Arceus sent 2 time travelers, a protagonist Pokemon trainer, and Ingo. I guess on terms of real cons, we could talk about those graphics now. Though I do think it goes beyond the graphics. Sure, there are moments where Legends Arceus straight up looks like a 3D fan game, but I do think the more appalling offense are the environments. Not only are they mostly empty fields, but the art style is ugly. Crimson Mirelands just... wow. There are ways of pushing the switch into creating beautiful environments, just look at Dragon Quest XI, but the fact that most environments look pretty bad and aren't very dynamic make it a hard sell. That being said, the game runs shockingly well, which I always hold over graphics anyway. You want to know something sad though? This game has absolutely no cross-promotion with Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. It's jarring to me that a Pokemon game that came out only 2 months beforehand doesn't have any link to Legends Arceus. Exclusive forms to Hisui? Nope. Origin form Palkia and Dialga? Nope. Wooden Pokeballs? No. The part that gets me is that BDSP lended itself to possibly the easiest link ever, the Canalave Library. You could have added lore that told us what occurred in Hisui all those years ago. Name drop the region. Anything to get us hyped. I mean, they did have the Manaphy legend, but that's literally it. If you play this game outside the loop, it's not even apparent Legends Arceus was coming out after it. It's kind of embarrassing. Wow, even beyond the grave, Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl torment us. It just wasn't fair to sideline BDSP as Pokemon Company did. BDSP was an opportunity to cross-promote. You could do this with forms or lore, but all of it was dumped for the true remake experience. TM, sincerely, I would have loved if more development time was put into Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, then have Legends Arceus come out the following year. It was like these remakes were a race to see who could get them done first between Game Freak and Ilka, and I feel legitimately bad for Sinnoh fans. But at the end of the day, this game was a pretty big hit. I really don't have that many complaints about the final product. Game Freak took a risk, it succeeded, and it brought eyes to the Pokemon franchise again on terms of their video game entries. I will continue to stand by that Game Freak is a great developer when they try. But unfortunately, Pokemon Company keeps a stranglehold on them to milk as much content as they can. In an era where Pokemon holds quantity over quality, I love this Legends idea they have going. It's a breath of fresh air in an era where Pokemon entries are dangerously similar to each other, and I hope they continue making Legends games since there's so much lore to these regions. Seeing them handled with a similar maturity would be a dream come true. Please, Arceus, please give us Pokemon Legends Johto, please!
Unfortunately, not even I have power over Game Freak, especially since they're busy working on the next Kanto remake.
No! Special thanks to my top tier patrons, Chansey, Liddy Kitty, and Terror XD.